Welcome to the Verses of Life, where military resilience meets professional clarity and faith overcomes chaos. Get battle-tested wisdom with biblical insight to triumph through growth. Now for your host, Dr. Veronica Sites.
Welcome to the Verses of Life. Oh, you are in for a treat today, and I'm just going to tell you right now, you might want to grab some hankies because it could be that your eyeballs sweat a little bit. My next guest, Hannah Bauer, is an amazing, incredible. Listen, I'm gonna set her up for you to meet her, but she is my sister in Christ. She is more than a friend. She would lay her life down for me, and I would do that. I would do the same for her. Professionally, she has led leadership. She continues. She's a John Maxwell trainer, educator. You're a global leader. I mean, this woman is so lingual. It's just multilingual. And Sigma 6 belt leadership, Sigma, is it called certified?
Yeah, Six Sigma.
Sigma.
Mm-hmm.
And she and I met through the Ziegler Legacy program. And that is where our story began, but where our roads intersect is why I have her as my guest for you today to glean. Because adversity is not an achievement. It's an accomplishment that she has mastered with excellence in leading transformation, and her story is beyond incredible. It's a miracle to have her here, and I celebrate her life. Hannah, welcome to the Verses of Life.
Well, thank you, my dear friend, sister, everything. We pretty much have been there for many years, and it's just awesome how God connects us in our different trajectory among an ocean of people, just to be able to find kindred spirits. And it's just really an honor. And I'm so proud of you for everything that you're doing. So thank you for having me.
Well, I'm proud too. That's that iron sharpening iron.
Yeah.
We constantly are lifting each other up at the right time. So
It's true.
So Hannah, there's so much we could talk about, and what I really want our guests to know, and it's a little personal. It's also very much where the Lord has paved a road for you to step into. You wrote the book, Hustle with Heart. It's a framework of leadership that actually comes from a chapter in your life that could have ended very early on.
Yes.
So I want our guests to hear from the heart of one, no pun intended, from the heart of the Hustle with Heart. What was it that as a child, the pediatric recipient of the first heart ablation, that journey has propelled you to what you do, why you do it, and how you do it today? So tell us a little bit about that and how that has factored into what you do now.
Yeah, well, thanks for asking that. Well, heart is the life, right? Like the very meaning of life. And for me, having, as a child going through that, it was both something that I did want my heart to beat, and at the same time, the very vital part of me was causing me pain. Because as the heartbeat, even as it became trying to come into the normal, I would go through this, what they call a tachycardia, where the heart would go super, super fast, and also arrhythmia, where it would be irregular too. So it would go fast and irregular. Sometimes it would be minutes, hours, and then days. So what triggered it? It could be anything. It could be like a sneeze. It could be like me just turning, or just asleep. In the middle of the sleep, it will just go and brace, what we would call. So the uncertainty aspect of that was a big part, because there was no way to prepare. Like there wasn't like, hey, if I did this today, or if I knew it was a stressful day, or if I knew if I ran, or if I ate this kind of thing, I knew that was going to happen. So I was kind of getting ready for that. There was nothing that really built up for it. So when it happened, not only did it literally take my breath away, but whatever activity I was doing was interrupted. And I had to learn as a kid, I mean, here I am, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, to those moments of interruption, to be able to absorb them and still be able to do what I was intending to do for that moment. And even learning to, in a sense, manage what I really couldn't manage, because you can't manage your heartbeat. You can't
No,
wash your
no, you
breath, you know.
cannot.
So, trying to manage something I couldn't manage. I mean, just humanly, it was almost like a also sense of losing battle had I not had these frameworks in a way to be able to not only cope through them, but really later on in life, because I can't say when I was a kid, oh, I came up with this and this is how I got through it. No, it was later on, you know, how you look back, you don't learn from experience, you learn from reviewed experience.
That's good.
Is is looking back at it. Well, what did I do? What was the pattern that was happening at that time? And that's where the frameworks came in. That's where the method came in. It's like, okay, no, there was a pattern. There was something that I was consistently doing that when I look back into it, okay, that's it. Because I realized I was carrying that same skill, in a sense, a skill that developed into my leadership. I carried it into my organization. So I was able to carry it into other places. But it was from trying to control the uncontrollable, at the same time needing to live with what was vital, that at the same time it caused pain.
That's incredible. So, listen, we're going to pause right in here. We don't learn from lived experience. We learn from lived experience that's been reviewed.
Mm-hmm.
So, you were a child, and I remember the first time that I heard you share that story, it hit so close to home with me
Mm-hmm.
because I had a daughter for a season that struggled with supraventricular tachycardia.
Yeah.
And we had this, or I had, where I didn't know what was going on. And I thought she was a little dramatic.
Yeah.
And because she would say she was having a nap attack and she'd like plop down on the floor and as if limp. But then one day I realized she was limp. Like I went to go pick her up and her hand just went down. I was like, well, you don't fake that. And that tachycardia that you experienced, how old were you when your parents made the decision that saved your life?
Well, is it similar to what you were talking about as a parent? You know, they thought it was, you know, they call it mommyitis. You know, I was
Oh,
just having like this, just wanting attention, you know, like when I was 4.
Mhm. 4.
Yeah, I was 4 years old when I was diagnosed. And then throughout even my life, a lot of times like, oh, she's just trying to get attention. So even just like having to battle that until the moment when I held off too long, and that led to my first heart attack. And then I had a second heart attack very close after that. And it was after that second heart attack that my parents really made that decision to leave everything they knew in search for that cure. So what did that mean for us? That meant leaving Venezuela, coming to the U.S. My father was able to, by miracle, honestly, from God, that we got the H1 and H2 visa. Come here. From the moment we arrived, I was in the hospital. It was the I remember the doctors, one of the initial times they met me, because I was going through the episode, my heart basically started racing and all this stuff happened. And I don't even remember, but the doctor just putting the mirror under my nose just to confirm that indeed I was still breathing, because they couldn't tell. They couldn't tell that, you know, with the vital signs weren't there. It's a consistent part where they had to check, is she alive? You know, like that limp.
Yeah.
So from the time that we arrived to the U.S., it was about a period of 5 years. And there were a lot of decision points that my parents had to make. One, first of all, I had to be hospitalized consistently, weeks going to CCU. And then during the CCU, it was having to try a drug here, try a different drug there. And between the drugs that they tried, you know, the time that it took to introduce a drug and then it didn't work, 3 days for it to be out of your system to then introduce a new drug again. So it's a consistent thing. So they made a lot of those decisions along the way, even to what was thought the most unprecedented one, which is now starting with surgeries. At first, I had a heart cath, which had been done before. I think at that time I was 12. Then was another. Then it didn't work. That was very disappointing in itself, because again, being done in the hospital. But then it was like the most, what seemed like the ultimate, like the hardest one, the decision I was going to make was having an open heart surgery. And they did the open heart, and it was in collaboration. And I was at that point, yeah, I was 12, and that one didn't work. And I think at that point, when it didn't work, and it wasn't just a regular open heart. They were trying something new, even in the open heart. It was a collaboration. It wasn't just a children's hospital. It was the children's hospital in collaboration with the university, looking for ways to help me. And when that one didn't work, it was like that was it. At that point, that was now put in the heart transplant list, and really didn't have a way. Is what's the way forward? I mean, that was like the ultimate. Pacemaker would not have worked. And then knowing with the heart transplant, even what the doctor explained to us, is that it would give me 10 more years, assuming that everything worked well. So at that point, I would have been at 22. So a couple of years passed. First of all, I would still be alive after 2 years of that.
Yeah.
That's when the opportunity came for this never been done heart surgery. And it was using a combination of laser and cryo. And now it looks like, oh yeah, well, laser, that makes sense. No, not in 92.
Okay. Yeah. So you were cutting. Your parents made a decision for you to receive a cutting edge procedure
with cameras. I mean, at that point, the little cameras are not being used, right? I mean, we had done the heart cath where they map, but this was like a whole new way. The thing about this surgery was that, from how it was explained to me, is that there's a lot of nodes in the heart. There's electricity, literally electricity. There's nodes that make your heart pump. I basically had too many of those nodes, or those nodes were not listening to each other. They were firing at different times, so they needed to burn those nodes. The thing is, at that time, the precision was the question, because you can burn, but you could burn too much where you're burning the vital parts. And that was a challenge. The challenge was to burn enough to where they brought the normal part, and also not to burn what was vital to the heart for the heart to work. And that's what they couldn't guarantee.
And that's not predictable.
It's not predictable at all. It's not predictable at all. And I remember they brought in, actually it was a doctor from Texas that came over to Georgia, because they had done a surgery in adults, but they had not been done in kids. So they were testing it out with me to see if this would work. It had been, I think it was like 7 adults that had elderly, and I would be the first child. And that was the danger. But at the same time, it's like, well, where are we, right? I mean, the heart transplant, we've already tried everything. So I think with my parents, and they talked to me about it. I mean, I was 14. And it was one of those parts where it's very scary. But then, and I thank them that they told me. I mean, I had already gone through the pain of open heart and not working. I had gone through the pain of consistent interventions that didn't work. And it was like this one more thing that where putting the trust and faith in, we had made it this far. We weren't even supposed to have made it this far. I mean, I was already 4 years beyond what was expected. That we said yes, and 20 years later, when I get the call from the hospital, is when I understood what the significance of it was, because I didn't know. I mean, I was 14. I didn't quite understand everything that was going on, but they called me and they said they wanted to do a documentary on it because of the impact that the surgery had had.
Yeah.
At that point, 20 years later, they have been able to save 3,000 other kids. And at 20 years later, now this is the surgery that is used now people get as an outpatient, and is a regular way of treating heart disease.
So incredible.
Yeah, it was really, really interesting, actually, how it all happened.
Well, I want to touch on something that is a critical importance. And I hear you saying you had dealt with the pain of it, but I know there's more than the physical part of it. And this is where I want you to hear, listeners, that pain can be destructive and it can be productive. And one of the things that Hannah has literally mastered is, how do we take the pain, both physical and the internal, posture ourselves? Again, she spoke about faith. She spoke about, the unknown. Hannah, uncertainty is something that people don't often deal very well with. And I know that today you couldn't have seen or known that a book would be a foundational attraction to you as a messenger that can actually speak to the mindset, the we call them the micro shifts, the mini shifts that actually have led to the transformation
Yeah.
you guide people through. So talk about the uncertainty, like how you were first you were a preteen, then you were a teenager, but then it doesn't sink in for 20 more
20 years.
years. Like, can you talk to us a little bit about a different way to consider uncertainty?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are a couple of things, right, that happen. Now, tachycardia is not bad necessarily. I mean, like your heart goes fast. If for anybody who's ever worked out, you're actually are on purpose putting your heart in zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, zone 4. So you want your heart to go fast because what happens with your heart goes fast? Well, you're starting to build that endurance, right? That's what we talk about, the fitness level, building that endurance so that when you do have, you do go out there and you run your marathon, you do go out there and do things, your heart is strong, right? We talk about that. And what makes your heart strong is putting it under stress. The difference with what was happening with me is it happened at times it wasn't supposed to happen. The uncertain times.
Yes.
So in the uncertain times is what literally took the breath away. And I started realizing this because it wasn't just the uncertainty, it wasn't just the physical aspect, like you said, that happened to it, but it was the fear that came along with it. Because didn't know how long it was going to last. Didn't know, is this going to be like a few minutes? Is it going to be like a few hours? Am I still going to be able to go to school tomorrow? Am I still going to be able to get up? Am I still going to be, am I still, like all of these things that were suddenly like you try to grasp for normal, are they still going to continue? As a kid, trying to cope with that, that was probably, that was the key moment for me of really seeing, okay, what is priority. And one of the things that I would say as a kid, I didn't know. I had to rely on my caretakers to help me know the way. Primarily my grandmother. Okay. She would be there with me. It was in those moments of that uncertainty, which becomes chaos, where you can't breathe, where all this fear is coming in, to have that voice that loved you, to have that voice that encouraged you, help me get through those very agonizing, painful moments where I had no idea what to do, still make it through literally one more breath. And it was my caretakers, because I didn't know. Like I didn't let me just tell myself it's gonna be okay. No, I was 6. I was 7. You know what I mean? Yes. I didn't have this, but if had it not been for the people, and this is what I find so much with uncertainty today, there's a lot of things that we're going through, and that's why community is so key. That's why your inner circle is so key. Yes. Because we don't have the answers. We don't know how long it's gonna last. We don't know those things, but having that voice that speaks to you, having that strength in love, really. And that was one of the things that I caught when we did a 20-year anniversary of my surgery, when they asked the doctor, well, what were you thinking at that time? And then he was saying, like, well, we're just trying to keep her alive long enough for technology to catch up. That was the goal. And I'm like, my goodness. And that's when it clicked, right? That's when it clicked. What kept me alive long enough?
You know, that word enough is a powerful thing. So I'm gonna ask you to reflect for just a moment, because a lot of people struggle with, are they enough? Is this enough? Will I ever be enough? At 14, 16, 17, 18, did you ever struggle with enough?
Yes.
You
Yes.
you mentioned at one point, because I'm thinking as a caregiver to one with special needs that also has this resonates so much. And guests, I want you to understand that when we curate our guests to be here, it's because you can speak life to somebody that's in the shoes like myself, their role, whether it's a caregiver or somebody that's advocating for another. It's important that life is spoken from a place of triumph.
Yes.
And there was a moment, we were talking off screen a little while ago, that even the caregivers you asked something because you had had enough.
I had had enough. It was, like I said, it was very debilitating, very painful. And I think the disappointment, right? Because every time, I mean, at this point, I've been cut up, and you know, other kids would notice being made fun of, even from my scars. You know, you're young, people don't know. Plus, still going through the disease and now going through another very painful surgery after that innovative surgery. I remember, well, my mom tells me later when I was coming out, and she's wanting to make sure I'm okay, and me just begging, let me go. Promise me this is it. Just let me go. And she said that was the moment where she let me go. She promised no more. And I think, again, we would not have gotten to that point had it not been for the advocacy of my mom. I mean, she believed.
Yes.
They moved consistently. I mean, like, they were doing the impossible. My dad would be pushing grocery carts just to make ends meet for the family. It was an entire family making a sacrifice just so I can get to this place. So her advocacy was huge to even
Fierce.
get us here. But it did come to a point. Even for me, it's like, it was enough. But when she let go, what happened?
Yes.
It opened the door. I'm here.
You are here. And
I'm here.
you know, friends, this conversation will go much longer. We're gonna take a break for just a moment, and you're gonna have to catch part 2 because there is so much that Hannah has to offer by way of she's available. She's available as a speaker. She's available as a mentor, as one that can guide a journey both on a personal level, corporate levels. And Hannah, your story amazes me at all times. So for this episode, I want you to speak to the caregiver and just speak life to that person that's in the role of advocacy as a caregiver.
My goodness, I don't think I understood the weight that my mom carried until when I was looking from the camera. Now, me being a mom, hearing my doctor say what he said, where I really like, wow, what a great job you're doing. What a great job you're doing. First of all, I want to tell you that as a caregiver, giving your all, advocating, keep on advocating. And most of all is you can only do the work in the tactics, but really the results go beyond you. And there is a release as you advocate. There is a release as you fight. And I want to invite you into that because I realize even that for my mom, what she tells me from her perspective, that it was in that release that really, with everything combined, right? I mean, with the doctors, with her faith, with her actions, but it was in that rest, in all that activity, that really opened the gates for the miracle that not only became my miracle, but became the miracle of thousands of other kids. So I would tell you that rest in the work, continue to advocate, and most importantly, like, there was nothing that we could have really known as far as sustaining. We talk about sustainability a lot, but really what does sustain? Love sustains. Your love is your greatest gift for life that you can give. Your love crosses every adversity. And even in the greatest of chaos, it is your love that will anchor that very person, that kid, that loved one in your life through the hardest, most agonizing times, and make the pain really just another moment, but not what defines them or what defines their life.
This is a powerful episode of the Verses of Life. And I just want to remind you that as you tune in, I mean, we are all about sustaining life. We are all about speaking life into very difficult places because you, my friend, are one decision from a radically different life. And I can say that, Hannah, you have blessed us. Today, you've blessed me as a caregiver. You spoke life into me. And the thing about it is it's not always a caregiver that's biological or family related. Sometimes we get to be the bonus parent or the bonus grandparent. And it's so easy, so very easy to get entangled by how challenging how fierce, and then even question why. But it's not a why. It's how do we navigate forward. So tune in for the next episode because you'll hear the rest of Hannah's story and the direction how to connect to her. I strongly encourage you, listen, whether you're in the medical community, corporate, if you need a speaker, Hannah is an outstanding, amazing collaborative partner. I consider her a tactical connection that I'm glad that God brought us together, and I'm honored to bring her to you. Until the next time, speak life and continue to remember there's always solutions to problems.
This has been The Verses of Life, where warriors and professionals live life on purpose, silence doubt, and lead with action. Stay strong, stay grounded, and remember, growth through pain reveals a greater purpose. Stay. The world needs you.